Dolphins versus the Baltimore Colts. Today's game is brought to you by Mazda, who invites you to experience the low-priced Mazda V2000 Sundowner. By Owens Corning, makers of pink fiberglass attic blanket insulation. And by Kmart K-Care Auto Centers, with our promise of service, value, and satisfaction. We've got it good. The Colts and the Dolphins just one game behind the Buffalo Bills. The story here today, rain began last night. It has fallen all morning long, and the word here in Baltimore, we are likely to have showers continue throughout this afternoon's football game. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Phil Stone. Working with me today here in Baltimore, former Bills and Raiders wide receiver Bob Chandler. It was a week ago when Miami totally dismantled the New York Jets, while the Baltimore Colts looked totally inept against the Buffalo Bills. Question, Bob, does Baltimore have what it takes, enough horses to beat Miami?
Well, Phil, after their poor performance last week, Frank Kush has gone back to the basics, stressing the fundamentals at practice this week. On the other hand, Miami, after a great defensive performance last week, has really picked up their spirits. The thing that has really pumped life into that Miami team is the emergence of Dan Marino at quarterback. Somebody forgot to tell Dan Marino that rookie quarterbacks are not supposed to be able to play in this league. So what he's gone out and done in just 2 short weeks has become the #1 ranked passer in the AFC, completing over 60% of his passes for 528 yards and 9 touchdowns. 2 weeks does not make a quarterback, but he's off to a real fast start, Phil.
Well, there's absolutely no question about that. In fact, Bob Greasy, the former Dolphin great, now one of NBC's analysts, has told him earlier this week that, hey, Dan, it is not always going to be this easy. We are set to go. The man you're looking at, Raul Allegre, and he will kick it away. The deep man for the Miami Dolphins, number 41, Fulton Walker. Walker with a 24-yard average. Of course, he broke one for 78 yards. What a game he had last week against the Jets. 3 returns for a total of 143 yards. Fielded by the short man. And he will be down at the 30, make that the 25-yard line. It is Woody Bennett, the backup fullback. Gary Patchen brought him down. So the Miami Dolphins, this is the way they'll go today. The rookie out of Pitt, Dan Marino, who told us before today's game he loves to play in this kind of weather. Nathan and Franklin, the running backs. The receivers, Duper, Nat Moore, and Dan Johnson, the tight end. The offensive line for Miami, Giesler, Kuchenberg, Stevenson, Newman, and Eric Lasko. Nat Moore in motion. The give, Franklin through the right side. He's into the Baltimore secondary, out near a first down, the 35-yard line. Kim Anderson, the free safety, 4th year out of Arizona State, tackles him. The defensive line for Baltimore, they utilized the 3-4. Thompson Wisniewski and Steve Parker, rookie out of Eastern Illinois. The linebackers, Greg Braceland, Johnny Cooks, Barry Krause, and Vernon Maxwell. 7 sacks already this year. Defensive backs, Burrows, Williams, Glasgow, Kim Anderson. And I have to believe, Bob Chandler, that Marino and the Miami Dolphin offense will go after that core of secondary.
I think they will, Phil. You know, the conditions are a little suspect today, but on a day like this, the receiver really has the advantage going into his route, and it's just a matter of him having to concentrate a little bit more to catch the ball.
The field was covered up until about an hour before game time, but it is very soggy as the rains got heavier and heavier just about 60 minutes before kickoff. The give is again to Andra Franklin, and he has stacked up Barry Krause, 5th year out of Alabama, is there to bring him down. The reason you will notice that the infield portion of this field has not been sodded over yet is because the Colts have been here at home for the past 3 weeks, and the groundskeepers here in Baltimore felt that if they would have sodded early after the Orioles World Series here, that it would not have had enough time to take with the Colts playing on it every weekend. So they will sod after today's game. Colts go on the road for a couple of weeks. Marino, his first attempt of the day. It's complete. Bruce Hardy has it. He is down shy of the 45. They're setting it right on the 45-yard line. Bruce Hardy, sixth year out of Arizona State. There's one guy that Frank Kush didn't get. There are 8 Sun Devils on the Baltimore Colts roster. Of course, Kush, for 22 years, strode the sidelines at Arizona State. And 21 of those 22 years, he had winners there. Second down and 2. The ball on the 45. Franklin tries the left side, runs into his own interference, and is down very close to the first down. I think he got it. Kendall Williams and Kim Anderson combining on the stop. Bob, you hear so much when field conditions get to looking the way they do that maybe it helps the offense, maybe it helps the defense. Does it really aid anybody?
Well, you know, it's such a psychological thing. I think the team that prepares himself for the weather and the conditions mentally really has the advantage. I don't think any one team plays better, particularly in wet weather or dry weather. You know, that's really been an overplayed thing. Miami is used to playing in the rain, though, even more so than maybe Baltimore is.
The one setback now for Miami is Woody Bennett. 2 tight ends for the Dolphins on 1st and 10. That's Barty, and it is incomplete. Check that, Mark Duper. Kim Anderson, great coverage by the Baltimore secondary, and what a game Duper had last week.
Yeah, Mark Duper has really come on strong for him this year. He's a young receiver. What he's doing here is he's running a quarter route. One thing I questioned Marino about the other day was what his reads are, and it looked to me here he was looking at Duper the whole way, and actually the coverage was pretty good by Baltimore.
Second down and 10. The ball at the 48-yard line. Marino. Joe Rose. He'll be stopped shy of the first down by a bundle, probably 5 yards shy. Greg Bracelet on the tackle. That's something you see the Dolphins do an awful lot of, dumping that pass off.
A little tight end screen there. They've sure been successful over the years using those screens. They probably run that screen as well as any team in the National Football League. Here we see Johnny Cooks coming up to make the tackle on Rose. He's a very active linebacker. That's the trait of this whole defense. They're very active and they pursue very well.
3rd down and 4 as the crowd comes to life here in Baltimore. From the shotgun, Marino. Intending the pass for Nat Moore. He fell down on the cut. Excellent coverage by Nisby Glasgow. And the Dolphins unsuccessful with their possession here. And Reggie Roby will come on to attempt the first punt of this football game. Roby in his first year out of Iowa, one of Hayden Fry's Chargers. And boy, what a tough loss Iowa took yesterday at the hands of Michigan.
Well, they say Reggie Roby now is the biggest punter in the world.
Who's going to argue? 6'4", about 240 pounds, certainly the heaviest punter in the league. Roby with a 43-yard average. Ricky Porter, the lone man, back at the 10-yard line. End over end. And it'll go out of bounds at the 15-yard line. So the Baltimore Colts and Mike Pagel will get their first look at more offensive linemen. Pagel, Dickey, McMillan, the backfield. The receivers, Booza, Butler, and Sherwin in a pretty good offensive line. Nailed down by a couple of rookies, Jim Mills and Chris Hinton. On 1st and 10 from the 15, here come the Colts. And a give right up the middle. It is Curtis Dickey. Check that, McMillan. And Bob Baumauer in on the stop. The Miami Dolphins, who normally employ the 3-4 defense because of tremendous problems at linebacker, are going with a 4-3 today. Betters, Baumauer, Charles, and Beaucamper on the line. The linebackers, Brzezinski, Thomas, and Bowser, and the defensive secondary, Judson, Blackwood brothers, and Gerald Small. 2nd down and 6 from the 19. 3-yard drop completed to Tracy Porter, 3rd year out of LSU, and Gerald Small pounces on him, short of the first down by about 3.
Tracy Porter is just running a little quick hitch pass. You know, they recognize a soft corner over there. They're giving him some room because he has some speed. It's a good way to pick up 5 or 6 yards. Frank Kush is trying to throw the ball occasionally today.
Down and 2. The give is McMillan, Dickey has a first down and more for Baltimore.
I talked to Bob Brzezinski yesterday, and I asked him what he thought about this Colts offense. And his major concern was those two big running backs. He said they're probably as good a tandem as there is in the league. And at that size and that speed, if Miami is not really on their toes today, they can really wreak havoc back there.
Now the Colts out of the I formation. The tailback is Dickey. The man down is McMillan. And it's Dickey. Look at the cut, right side. And he is out near the 45, possibly to the 46-yard line, before he is snowed under there by Lyle Blackwood and Bob Baumauer. Lyle Blackwood, 11th year out of TCU. And we've got a Colt down at the 42-yard line. It is Jim Mills, and that is bad news for Baltimore. He is the guy they expected to run over all day long. Of course, the matchup there, probably the best in today's game, Bob. Mills and Doug Betters for Miami.
You know, Jim Mills.
All right, we'll continue that conversation and there against the surprising Patriots. Cleveland, Cincinnati tied at 7-all, and the Jets are ahead of Atlanta 7-0 early in the second period. Here, it is scoreless. 9:07 to play in the first period. Baltimore, second down and 4 at the 46. McMillan bangs his way across the midfield, trying a first down for Baltimore. Bush, for 22 years at Arizona State, made a living off the passing game. When you look at all the great wide receivers that man turned out at Sun Devil Country, he has really bent his whole philosophy around now as a coach in the pros, Bob.
He sure has. He's had to adapt to his personnel, and his personnel right now dictates a running game.
First and 10 now at the Miami 49-yard line. Dickey. And he'll be nailed right at the line of scrimmage by Glenn Blackwood. Glenn already in his 5th year out of Texas Longhorn country.
That's what makes that Miami defense so effective, is because of the way their safeties, whether it's free safety or strong safety, these Blackwood brothers come up and they force so well. A lot of safeties aren't quite as physical as these two, and this is a very important ingredient for Miami's defense.
Well, I would assume also, Bob, that when you have an offense that does not have much of a deep threat, it allows the safeties to perhaps come and play a little closer to the line of scrimmage without having to worry about getting beat deep. That's Dickey, and he's got some running room. There's a fumble on the play. Question is, was he down before he coughed up the ball? Sherwin says he was down. It is still Baltimore's ball, but hold on while the officials unpile the heap. The rain falling even harder now.
You know, I think it's important for Coach Cush and the Colts today to at least try to throw that ball down the field. That vertical game is really important. It puts fear in the opponents, and like you said, when those safeties come up and they can become a big part of tackling there, they have to respect that passing game. And if the Colts can come out and throw a few down the field, whether they complete them or not, it's going to make their running game a little easier.
Miami has the football. Now, did Dickey cough it up? It looks like the ball is loose there.
He did. You know what's interesting is there's the ball right there on the ground. Dickey and McMillan get so many of their yards. They say almost 1/3 with second effort. What happens a lot of times on that second effort is there's 2 or 3 guys tackling the ball carrier, and that's when fumbles occur. There are a lot more fumbles this year, and it's not because they're just happening. Teams are teaching their tacklers to go for the ball. That second and third tackler has a responsibility, and that's to try and strip that ball out of there.
So the Dolphins, with their second look at the ball here in this football game, 7:33 to play in the first quarter, no score. Franklin through the left side, following Kuchenberg and John Giesler. And he's got 3, maybe 4 before Barry Krause shuts it down. This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League. It is intended for the private use of our audience. any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Baltimore Colts and the National Football League is prohibited. A gain of 3 for Miami. It is 2nd down and 7 now. Clock continues to run inside 7 minutes here in the first period. The ball on the 46-yard line. Franklin and Tony Nathan, the running backs, and now apparently some confusion on Marino's part. He calls immediate timeout and wants to go talk to Don Shula. So while the Dolphins, again, they're back at Memorial Stadium, scores in the second quarter. It is Minnesota over Green Bay 10-3. Second quarter, Washington laying it on the Lions 21-3. And Kansas City, Houston tied 7 apiece in the second quarter. Here we are scoreless. That is Nat Moore in motion. Flags are down. Andra Franklin is down after a gain of maybe 2. And Donnell Thompson, the big defensive end on the left side, third year out of Tar Heel country, there to swarm him under. And the penalty is going to be offsides, I believe, against the Baltimore Colts. Boy, Bob Chandler, penalties have killed Frank Cush's Colts this year.
Well, they're a young and aggressive team, and that's the price you pay. They've been penalized over
number 78.
They've been penalized over 59 times this year, and you know that's just too many to stay competitive week in and week out. But it is the mark of a young, aggressive football team, and you hate to take away a lot of that aggressiveness. You just have to kind of curb those mental mistakes.
They have been penalized 497 yards. Take a look at that. Conversely, the Dolphins, the least penalized team in all of football. Franklin tries the right side. He is hit in the backfield by Thompson and slowed up, and Steve Parker moves up and brings him down. To be fair to Andra Franklin, he is playing with 2 severely bruised shoulders. After last week's dismal rushing performance by the Dolphins, 51 yards and 29 carries, the least amount of yardage on the ground for a Dolphin team in 8 years. Shula said, I wasn't concerned with Franklin gaining yards. I was more concerned with him getting back to the line of scrimmage. That tells you something about your running game. And I don't think Franklin got it. He did not. He'll be a good yard shy. Steve Parker, Leo Wisniewski, combined on the stop. And it'll be 4th down. So the Baltimore Colts defense, much maligned coming into this game, has held again.
They really did. They got off the ball real well there. And, you know, the thing that they don't want to do is for those offensive linemen to be able to get underneath them and drive them out of there. And they didn't allow it that time. And Baltimore needs a couple of these kind of plays in the early going of this game to fire that defense up, which has really been their strong part of their performances this year.
As you can plainly see, the ball a good yard short of a first down. And here comes Mr. Roby for the second time here in the first quarter. Ricky Porter, the lone man back for the Baltimore Colts, standing at his own 10-yard line. Look at the rain falling here at Memorial Stadium. Roby standing in very, very slippery mud out around the second base position. Low snap, good rush, and he gets it away. Again, not particularly long. Porter will let it go, and it turns out very, very well for the Miami Dolphins. Dead inside the 5-yard line.
Within the dirt part of the infield there. You know, he's only a 2-step kicker, as you see him here, but they say he's very deliberate. And so in the past few weeks, teams have come after him to try and block a punt. They think they can get to him.
Well, Matt Bosa, the wide receiver, almost did right there. Here comes Dickey through the left side behind Chris Hinton, and he picks up about 4 before he is snowed under. Bo Camper's there. Mike Charles is there, and so is Lyle Blackwood.
I think we're going to see Baltimore running a lot to the left this afternoon.
As you take a look at scores, Cleveland over Cincinnati at halftime, 14-7. The Jets downing Atlanta in the second period, 7-0. Here in Baltimore, it is scoreless. That's McMillan. Tries to scoot across the 10. Bowser. 6'3", 232 out of Duper there to stop McMillan.
You know, the reason I said I think we'll see them running to the left a little bit more today is they'll be running behind Chris Hinton and Carl Baldischweiler. With Mills out, it makes that right side a little bit suspect. So you can see them concentrate, I think, more on that left side this afternoon.
Well, Frank Cush told me yesterday morning, I had a chat for about an hour with him. He said if they have to use Jeff Hart, the 7th-year man out of Oregon State, they are going to be in a little bit of trouble. That's Dickey, and he is across the 15-yard line. Very, very close to the first down, and I believe he may have it. Again, it is Charles Bowser, and it's a first down for Baltimore.
Here we see Chris Hinton opening up the hole there. And you know, whatever combination they're using on that offensive line, there's Chris Hinton, number 75, in the middle of your screen there. Whatever combinations Baltimore's got on that offensive line, it seems to be working real well so far.
Al Dickey, 5 rushes already, 20 yards, hitting a pretty decent block on the inside linebacker, Rodell Thomas. Pagel puts it up, wide open, and Butler cannot hold the ball. And listen to the boos come out in Baltimore.
Well, Butler's going to take a little heat for this because he's been a little suspect in the past of being able to make that catch. He is their big play receiver. That's why you'll see him get open on those intermediate routes. They have to respect his speed. He's a big receiver. But as Frank Cush told us yesterday, his biggest problem is his concentration and not being able to hold on to the ball.
Al Butler against the Broncos a few weeks back suffered a shoulder separation. Understand it is still a little bit tender, but if you can't catch a ball thrown right into your midsection like that, you're in trouble. 2nd and 10. Here's Dickey. Fumble, and I believe the Dolphins have it. Second turnover for the Colts this afternoon, and Bob Baumauer has covered it. So the Colts, who have stopped the Dolphins twice, are now in trouble here at their 18-yard line.
The biggest fear here is the Colts start questioning themselves. Here we see it. You know, you can go to the well so many times. Dickey and McMillan are running so effectively, and this happens. The Dolphins are very adept at stripping the ball. And when you're on the ground that much, you're going to make a few mistakes.
Well, credit Doug Fetters with knocking it loose. That's Nathan. He's inside the 10, near the 9. Kendall Williams stops him.
The situation Frank Cush does not want to get into today is to get behind quickly with the Dolphins. He says if he does get behind, they can't throw the ball. And it would be a very difficult, long afternoon. I think I even read somewhere where he said they should just as soon forfeit if they were behind by 2 or 3 touchdowns, which is a strange way to look at it. But they want to be competitive and stay with them so they can use their running game.
Mark Duper to the right of your screen. Nat Moore to the other side. The give is to Franklin. He tries the middle and tracks inside the 5. It is Donnell Thompson on the stop. 2 minutes, 27 seconds to play in the opening period here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore.
Here we have Andra Franklin. A big back has a little bit of an advantage when you're working on this real wet turf. At 220, 225 pounds, he can work on his footing. He's not making real radical cuts. He's just using his weight to make those extra few yards.
Franklin, right side. Oh boy, is he nailed. Donnell Thompson again. And say what you want about the pass rush of the Baltimore Colts and the fact that there virtually is none. But when it comes to stopping an opponent's rushing attack, Thompson, Wisniewski, and Steve Parker, 3 of the finest in the game.
Here we have it. You know, that's just tremendous penetration by the Baltimore's defensive line. And it looked like, there he is. Donnell Thompson is very happy about that one. He's been making some tackles the last couple of weeks.
Marino with plenty of time. Wide open in the end zone is Nat Moore. His 3rd touchdown of the year. So the Dolphins strike first with 1 minute 20 seconds to play in the opening period.
Here we have it. You know, it looks like Glasgow, Barry Krause, and Johnny Cooks we're all looking at each other there as Nat Moore just ran a little slant-in pattern, and there had to be a mistake in coverage on that one.
Shaman on to attempt the point after. He has 17 of 18 thus far on the year. Make that 18 of 19. So the clock stops here with 1:20 to play in the opening period at Memorial Stadium. And it's the Miami Dolphins on a turnover by the Baltimore Colts. And for cast Bob Chandler, their coaching styles certainly light years apart.
They really are. You know, both systems can win. I think Frank Kush is up against a little bit of an uphill struggle because players aren't really used to coming into that kind of boot camp atmosphere. And he realizes that, but he needs those kind of players, and he wants those kind of players. And he's, as he told us yesterday, he's going to stick with them.
Uwe von Schamann is set to kick it away. Kendall Williams, Ricky Porter, Alvin Moore, the three men deep for Baltimore. And it'll be Ricky Porter at the 5-yard line. He puts his head down and barrels across the 25 out near the 27-yard line. Fulton Walker brings him down. This is the third offensive series for the Baltimore Colts, and at the 27-yard line, this is their best field position of the afternoon. There you see the scoring drive. It took Miami 1:58 to go 18 yards following the fumble by Curtis Dickey. Marino, an 8-yard strike right over the middle to Nat Moore. And for Dan Marino, that is his 10th touchdown pass this year. That's Dickey. And he gets one, maybe two. Mike Charles, the rookie out of Syracuse, on the stop. Charles, I understand, loves to dance, a la Mark Gastineau. Calls it the levitation dance.
I hope we get a chance to see that today. I'm not a big dancing fan, but I'd rather see a couple more guys do it than just Gastineau.
Bagel statistics not impressive thus far today. In motion, Tracy Porter to the top of your screen. That's McMillan. Look out, he will be stacked up at the line of scrimmage by Charles Bowser. No gain on the play. It'll be third down now and 6 at the 30-yard line. Bob, you can't overstate the simple fact that when you do not have a respected passing attack, it is so much easier for the defense to put together the game plan.
That's true. That's why it's almost worth it to just waste a play occasionally and throw the ball downfield.
Yeah, you heard it. The gun sounds, ending the first period of play here at Memorial Stadium. With you here in Baltimore as we begin the second period of play. The Dolphins, after the turnover, the second by the Colts, have a 7-0 lead, and that man has to be happy. Third down and 6 now for the Colts at their own 30. Pagel to put it up. The swing pass. McMillan. And he is upended shy of the first down. Oh, what a stop by William Judson. And he is coming off the game of his life a week ago.
He really is. You know, and what happens when you have a great game like that is you play with a lot of confidence. He's probably, you know, I really expect him to have a decent day covering, too, if he gets the chances. Here we'll see him come up and force. Cornerbacks at his size, 180, 185 pounds, don't like to come up and force in this situation, especially against a back the size of McMillan. But here he comes up, takes his feet out from underneath him, and stops him short of the first down.
Ron Stark on to attempt his first punt of the day. Boy, does he have a great average. 46.5 yards of boot, and he sails this one. Clayton at the 19. Flags are down, and oh, Clayton is upended at the 28. Stark, his longest of the year, 67 yards. He is number 2 in the AFC behind Rich Camarillo. That one traveled 45 yards. And you can believe that is going to be a clip against Miami. So we'll take the ball back from the 28-yard line. Let's listen to Ben Drake. Yep, we can't hear him. Apparently the microphone out, but the call is, if you can read lips, no foul. No foul. The return will stand. So the Miami Dolphins will have those 7-0 at halftime. Cleveland. Brian Sipe, a couple of touchdown passes over Cincinnati, and the New York Jets leading Atlanta 7-0. Bruce Harper, a 78-yard touchdown run. It is 7-0 Miami here in Baltimore. And whoa boy, Tony Nathan is hit right at the line of scrimmage by Leo Wisniewski and Steve Parker.
You know, Phil, despite Dan Marino's hot hand the last couple of weeks, I don't think the weather has that much to do with the way they're running the ball today, but Miami's offensive personality over the years has been a running team. It's a great asset for them to have a quarterback, or at least feel they have a quarterback now who can put the ball up in the air and cause the big play. But they basically like to keep it on the ground.
Woody Bennett, the lone running back for the Dolphins now on 2nd and long. Marino with time. Going deep. Duper, got it. You just can't say enough about the magic of number 13, Dan Marino.
I've got a feeling that's a combination we're going to see a lot more of in the next few years. You know, that's just what Duper did there was use his speed and run right down the seam, and it was a perfect pass by Dan Marino, and he caught it over his head, a la Willie Mays. That's a tough catch for a young receiver like that. 64 yards and a touchdown.
Now that's quite a touchdown.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
At the 7-yard line, but they're close.
I can't see with all the mud.
That's Nathan in motion. Andra Franklin, left side. There is the touchdown, I believe. And now they're saying he is stopped short.
Well, we're trying to give him a touchdown anyway.
Now they're going to mark it out of bounds. The nose of the ball sniffing the goal line. Well, the Miami Dolphins, certainly over the years, Bob Chandler, have been the big play team.
This is just a tremendous second effort by Andra Franklin. He's a tough man to bring down in those conditions out there.
Second down and goal. There's Franklin. Oh, he's stacked up. He'll lose yardage. The Colts had an idea that Franklin would try and go in over Bob Kuechenberg, and why not? Cooch, 255, 14th year out of Notre Dame. And now on 3rd and goal, and now you're about 1.5 yards shy of the goal line. What's the call, Bob?
Well, you know, in an era of situation substitution like we're in now, Baltimore has most all of their run-oriented people in there. If Marino's gutsy here, he'll do a play-action pass.
Dives across, and the Dolphins have another touchdown.
Well, that's why I'm not coaching. I would have thrown a play-action pass and probably had it picked off down there. We're seeing a lot of second effort today by Andra Franklin, and this is exactly what he's hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and manages to shake loose, stretch out, and all he has to do is clear the plane of that goal line with the ball, which he did there before he's considered technically down.
Uwe von Schaman and Don Strock, the holder, asking the official for something. Want the ball moved over. So Dwight Stevenson obliges. It's down. Von Schaman, great elevation, and it's perfect. So with 11 minutes, 11 seconds to play in the first half, the Dolphins have scored by Ford. And your Ford dealer, have you driven a Ford lately? By Apple Computers and by Southern Pacific. 41,000 people working in 18 industries all across America. Showers continue to fall here over Baltimore, Maryland, as they have ever since last night. Uwe von Schaman. It'll be Porter at the 8-yard line. On his feet, flag is down. He is across the 30-yard line. Eddie Hill tackles him. will back the Colts up considerably. Very difficult to tell the yardage at that end of the field.
Number 64, illegal block in effect.
And it is on Ben Hunt. An illegal block. The ball will be spotted just off to the side of what is the pitcher's mound here at Memorial Stadium. Dickey McMillan, the running back. Booza split wide left. That's Dickey, and he has got running room.
Curtis Dickey, tackled by Blackwood.
He's out across the 20-yard line near the 22.
7-yard gain.
It'll be second down and 3. 10 minutes, 41 seconds to play here in the first half. Don't forget, stay tuned for NFL 83 at halftime. All the scores, highlights from around the league on this, the 8th weekend of the National Football League season. McMillan picked that Dickey. He has the first down, and he is hammered in the mud. I don't care how many years you've been around. Bob, you played 12 years. Did you like playing in the muck?
Well, no, you know, some of the linemen and linebackers do, but half the wide receivers battle is looking good. And see, this mud makes you real dirty. And I hated it because I didn't look good. And once I was muddy, I didn't look fast anymore.
And probably didn't feel real fast.
Well, I never felt real fast.
First and 10 now. The ball on the 30 out of the I formation. Tight end in motion. Sherwin, play action. Pagel puts it up. Booza has it. It's the first completion to a Colts wide receiver today.
That's an important step for this offense because one of the fundamentals that Frank Kush said he was getting back to was to try and keep Mike Pagel in the pocket so he at least gives his receivers a chance to get open. He was pressured here, so he had to move out of the pocket, but he was looking downfield rather than thinking about running, and he completed it to Matt Booza. They need Mike to sit in that pocket a little bit more when he has the chance and pick out those open receivers.
McMillan, is he stopped at the line? He got bent over backwards. Mike Charles, who is starting because of the absence of linebackers for the Miami Dolphins, is in on the stop.
Well, we didn't see Mike's dance there, but he did throw up one arm. So he got started with it, but since it wasn't a sack, we didn't see him go into the whole thing.
Would you dance in this weather?
No, I wouldn't.
Second down. Call it 10. Booza and Butler split out. Play action. Pagel. Little screen pass to the tight end, Sherwin. And he dives to the 40-yard line, and he is met helmet to helmet. And somebody for Miami is down and out. We've got a flag down. It is against Baltimore. Sherwin took somebody on helmet to helmet. But it will go for naught. The first down nullified. Oh, Baltimore, if they're not putting it on the ground, they're killing themselves with penalties, averaging 7 penalties a game for 75 yards a game. That is incredible.
Holding, number 68.
And it's whistled against Jeff Hart, who was filling in for an injured Jim Mills.
Well, it's too bad because it's a very effective screen, something that Baltimore has not been able to do too often this year. Tim Sherwin has a great individual effort here. He picks up a couple of his blockers, run behind them, then leaves them, and does the all-out Superman.
And the man he took on helmet to helmet, the inside linebacker, another linebacker from Miami, Rodell Thomas, will take a seat. Downfield, and it is almost picked off. Intended for Tracy Porter. He almost found William Judson, who last week against the Jets had 3 interceptions in the second quarter.
That's why I said I think he'll be playing with a lot of confidence now. You know, so much of this game is mental, and a guy comes off of a good performance like that, he feels he can start covering anybody. He starts taking a few chances, and it pays off. And there it was a very good defensive play on that play.
3rd down and 20, and take a look where the ball will be spotted, right in the middle of the goop. 6 defensive backs now for the Dolphins. Small, Blackwood, Langford, Glenn Blackwood, Kozlowski, and William Judson. Pagel. Rose. Picked off. Langford, the 6th defensive back, is down at the 47-yard line. And again, Pagel was looking for Tracy Porter. For Mike Pagel, his 9th interception of the year. So the 3rd turnover for Baltimore. It comes with 8:10 to play in the first half.
Getting ready on that route. You know, the problem is Mike Pagel was looking at him the whole way. Miami converged on him, and it really was no chance. The ball was thrown so high that we really didn't even get a chance to see it in the screen. And there Paul Langford picks off his first career interception.
Now Langford perfected his craft about 75 miles from here under the watchful eye of Joe Paterno at Penn State. Here's Franklin trying the right side. He picks up maybe 3. Donnell Thompson, 3rd year out of North Carolina with help from Johnny Cooks. Now that's the story today. The Colts with 3 turnovers. That coupled with the fact that very, very untimely penalties against Baltimore have cost them 2 first downs. 2nd down and 8. The ball at the 49-yard line. 7:34 to play in the 2nd quarter. The give is David Overstreet, and he is hit at the line by Barry Krause. Now Frank Kush told us yesterday, Bob, that his Colts just don't have, number 1, enough talent, number 2, enough experience to rebound once they have mental or physical breakdowns.
Yeah, you know, they've really been counting on big plays this year and to try and play as much mistake-free as they can, which obviously they haven't been able to, and which has been the story today also.
Shotgun for the Dolphins. Marino. Right over top. He's got a receiver, and it is Duriel Harris, and Greg Graceland splashes down. Check that Nap Moore.
Here we have Marino coming out of the shotgun, which really is pretty good for a young quarterback, because standing back there in the shotgun, it gives him an opportunity to look at the whole field without having to drop back and get reads. And he picked up Nat Moore for a first down.
1st and 10 now at the 38. Inside handoff. That is Tony Nathan. And he has got big yardage. Another first down. Near the 27-yard line. Clock running, 5:59 to play, a 2nd quarter. It is Miami 14. The Colts nothing.
Well, this is the time Baltimore on defense really has to regroup and come up with a big play. I think the worst thing that can happen, obviously, is that they get behind 21 points here so early in the game.
Nathan and Bennett are the running backs. 1st and 10. And flags fly.
All-star offense.
And I believe it was against Bob Kuchenberg.
Number 67.
It is the 14-year veteran. Take a look, Bob, where that ball is spotted. Halfway in the muck, halfway in the grass. That's got to make it tough if you're center Dwight Stevenson. First down now and 15 at the 32-yard line. That's Nathan. Steve Parker, rookie out of Eastern Illinois. Scores around the league. It is Washington over Detroit 28-3. That game now early in the 3rd period. Kansas Kansas City has taken a 10-7 lead over Houston. And it is Chicago over the Philadelphia Eagles, 7-0. Vince Evans hit Dennis McKinnon from 20 yards out. Second down, 11, Marino. They put it up. Goes deep. Touchdown! Mark Duper.
I think he's going for his over his 200-yard record today. We just have Duper running up the sideline. You know, it's just a flat-out great throw by Marino. He makes a good. Actually, he's not bad coverage here. You just can't set it in there any better. He had time to get both his feet in, and for a young receiver, that's a pretty alert play. He did tap them both down before he went out of the back of the end zone.
From 28 yards out on 2nd and 11, Marino, his second strike of the afternoon. Shaman from the hold of Don Strock. It's perfect. And the Miami Dolphins doing to the Colts exactly what Frank Kush had nightmares about yesterday. 4:44 to play in the first half, and it is shooting.
As we see it here, 1 foot actually does come down outside, and so it really wasn't a touchdown.
But the officials have called it a TD. And it will stand. Whoa, boy. Von Schaman lets it fly. And boy, is the rain starting to come heavy now. Ricky Porter will bring it out of the end zone. And he runs into a pack, dives across the 20-yard line. So the Colts will have it maybe at the 21. The rain is really coming down here in Baltimore. They expected somewhere around 42, maybe 45,000 today. Bob, it's safe to say that the inclement weather has kept a few people at home.
I think so.
Bagel statistics, 50% today for 30 yards, no touchdowns, and a couple of miscues. Booza and Butler, the wideouts. Pagel, out of necessity, has to put it up, and it is batted down at the line by Doug Betters. What more could you ask from the big left defensive end for Miami? 10 sacks, number 1 in the NFL. He batted down a Richard Todd pass last week that Bo Camper picked off and ran it in, and he gets another one here today, as well as forcing a fumble in the first period on Curtis Dickey. 2nd and 10. The ball on the 20. McMillan. And he is dropped by the man I was just speaking of, Doug Betters, 6'7", 250 pounds, out of Nevada, Reno. Time remaining in the first half. Don't forget, stay tuned here to NBC. NFL 83 will update you on scores and highlights around the league. Cleveland leading Cincinnati in the Battle of the Buckeye State, 21-14. That game now in the 3rd period. Cincinnati trying for their 2nd victory of the year. 3rd down and 8. 6 defensive backs for Miami. Pagel throws complete. Bernard Henry, the only clean uniform on the field, comes down with the ball. Well, don't you know that has to wake you up a little bit?
His uniform used to be clean, Phil. Now it's getting to where it looks like he's been playing a little bit. You know, here again, Miami pressured Pagel real well here. He ducked under their oncoming rush and managed to hit Bernard Henry over in the flat there. He has to do that, and that's what they want him to do. If he has to scramble, continue looking downfield and try and pick up those receivers.
1st and 10, Baltimore out of the I formation. Play action, Pagel with time. Now throws. That's Curtis Dickey, and he has it. Another big pickup. 10 yards and another first down for Baltimore. Look at Curtis Dickey.
Curtis Dickey in this situation is what you call a little outlet receiver. If everybody else is covered, Pagel will get back to him. Here he is kind of sloshing around in the mud, waiting and trying to stay in that open hole and not run into coverage, which he did a very good job of there.
Another first down for the Colts. At their own 46-yard line, 2 minutes, 18 seconds to play. Out pattern. That's Alvin Moore. He's got it. Out of bounds on the clock. A pickup of 8 yards on the play. So the Colts, for the first time in this ball game, are beginning to put together an offense.
Well, I like this offense. You know, Pagel is doing a very good job. When he has to scramble, he's picking out his receivers. There he looked over and saw a soft corner out there, picked up 7-8 yards. They have to continue to do this. They can't keep going to the well, which is the running game, because they're really running out of time already in this game.
Alvin Moore and Randy McMillan are the running backs. Tim Sherwin now shifts and sets. The give is to McMillan. He fumbles it and recovers it, I believe. Well, McMillan, motoring around the left side, just lost grip of the football.
In all deference to these guys, that football is pretty slippery at this stage, and you know, he's looking as he gets the handoff from Pagel. As he gets the handoff from Pagel, you know, he's looking, he's trying to maneuver, and there's the ball is stripped. It's a tough thing to hang on to when that ball gets so slippery out there. But he does manage to recover it and avoid what could have been a very costly turnover of the ball.
We have all Don Shula and the Dolphins 21-0 over the Colts. Mistakes, penalties have crippled the Baltimore offense. And you talk about rain, oh, we've got it for you today. And it is coming harder now than it has all day long. Marino will keep it himself, just trying to get the clock to run out. You can be certain.
You know, as hard as it's been raining, the grass portion of the field still looks in pretty good shape. It's not accumulating water anywhere, and the footing really doesn't look too bad yet. It's the muddy area that looks horrible.
Second down and 10. Seconds to play in the first half. Marino again will just lay down. And the clock is stopped. Baltimore on 3rd and 10. They'll try and get the ball back. You got to love their spirit.
Yeah, you do. I mean, that shows you that they don't think they're out of the game yet, and they're really not. Frank Kush told us how tough it is for them to come back and try and throw the ball in a catch-up situation. You know, what did he say this week? If he has to, if it becomes a throwing contest, it'll be a calamity, and Jane won't be there. I think I read that several times this week. Well, that's the situation he's got here today for himself.
Now, you saw Marino's numbers, just short of spectacular for the rookie quarterback out of Pitt. I told you before today's game, when he came out and looked at this field, he said, hey, I love this kind of weather. Of course, he cut his teeth on this kind of weather right down the road here a piece.
That's a typical example, though, of a player trying to convince himself that he enjoys going out in a day like this. I've never met any player in his right mind who liked to play in the rain, but when I saw Marino before the game, he had a big smile on his face, and he said, I love this kind of weather. I'm used to it. So maybe he believes himself.
29 seconds to play. Now you look at Don Shula. And what does the future have in store for Don? That is the question that perhaps Shula doesn't even know at this point. There's Andra Franklin. He'll go around the left side, and he is hammered right there by Randall Tate, who was picked up. Clock continues to run. 19 seconds, and now it's stopped. It'll be 4th down, a punting situation for the Miami Dolphins. So Reggie Roby coming on. For Roby, his 3rd attempt of the day. And Ricky Porter would like nothing more than to break a good return here with 19 seconds left. His longest of the year, 50 yards, averaging about 10 yards per punt return. Roby, interesting story about Reggie at Iowa. He was sort of a designated punter. They had two in Hawkeye country. When they needed a boomer, they sent in this man, Reggie Roby. When they were looking for a short punt, they had another guy that kicked it away. Oh, almost blocked. And Porter will call for the fair catch. And he's got it. Vernon Maxwell came within about 6 inches of getting a hand on that punt. So the Colts will have it with 12 seconds to play at their own, call it 26-yard line. Very, very, again, we say it's very difficult to tell exactly where the ball is spotted. Now they're putting it on the 30. Pagel. Dump pass. That's McMillan. 6 seconds. 5 seconds. McMillan is down. And the Colts call an instantaneous timeout with 2 seconds to play. Colts not dead yet. Bob, you said something yesterday when we were talking to Frank Kush that I found rather interesting. You were saying that the Colts are so young that they don't really understand or accept when perhaps they should be out of a ball game.
Well, that's a fear that a lot of teams that play the Colts have in mind. You know, it isn't that veterans quit when they realize the game is lost, but there is a difference there. This team is so young and so aggressive, and Frank Kush has instilled so much fear into them that they'll never quit, regardless of the score of the game. They'll keep coming at you. So Miami has to be careful not to get overconfident and let down at all, or the complexion of this game could change drastically.
Time expired. Pagel will have one last shot. And he'll have to run it. And oh, is he running it. And he is finally knocked out of bounds by Charles Bowser. Glenn Blackwood slowed him up.
The story of the day, Dan Marino, the AFC's #1 rated quarterback. He got the scoring started with this 8-yard touchdown pass to number 89, Nat Moore. Marino had one more touchdown pass in the first half. This one of 28 yards to Mark Duper. 11th touchdown pass of the year for Dan Marino, the rookie out of the
Memorial Stadium here in Baltimore. Heavy rain continuing to fall here at Memorial Stadium. It is the Miami Dolphins 21, the Baltimore Colts nothing. Halftime statistics much more even than you might expect. Certainly, it is the Baltimore Colts on the short end of a 21-0 score. Boy, you take a look at the statistics, Bob Chandler, and it would not indicate that wide a margin.
Well, turnovers have been the key here today, and Baltimore has turned the ball over 3 times, as you can see there, and Miami was able to capitalize on that and turn it into scores.
Only talking about 7 yards, total yards difference. Passing, Marino 7 of 11. For the Colts, Pagel 6 of 8, but as you said, Bob, turnovers, the real story here early on in the ball game. Dickey coughed it up twice. On the first turnover, it was a 8-yard pass, Marino to Nat Moore, made it 7-0, and then Duper. Boy, what can you say about Mark Duper in his second year? Last year, he played in only 2 games because of injuries. This year, he gets a break because Duriel Harris got in Don Shula's doghouse early. Duper had a big 64-yard reception and a 24-yard touchdown catch.
Well, he's done an extremely good job for a rookie. You know, here we see him here on his touchdown catch. And, you know, keeping your feet in when you catch the ball is as important as catching the ball. Here he gets away with it, but he won't get away with this too often. And it's a sign of a young receiver. He had enough time to make sure both his feet were in. It goes down in the books as a touchdown, but in actuality it wasn't.
What's amazing about Mark Duper, you assume, will defend the goal on your right. Check that on your left, and they will. Miami got on the board late in the first quarter following a Curtis Dickey fumble, an 8-yard strike from Marino to Nat Moore, his 10th touchdown pass of the year. And then early in the second quarter, a 64-yard strike, Marino to Duper. That took it to the 7-yard line. 4 plays later, Franklin on a 1-yard scoot made it 14-0. And then Duper again, 28 yards from the rookie out of Pitt, Dan Marino. And that is where we stand. It is 21-zip Dolphins. And Uwe von Schamann will boot it away. Ricky Porter, Kendall Williams, and Alvin Moore. 3 men deep for Baltimore, and we are underway. Second half action from Memorial Stadium. It'll be Porter at the 1. He's out across the 20-yard line near the 21, and they slosh down. So the Colts offensive alignment will come back out. Pagel trots out. You'll have McMillan and Dickey, the running backs.
Now this ball, coming down on these kickoffs, that ball is even tougher to catch. And here, takes his eye off it a little bit, manages to pick it up. And oftentimes you get a big return in a situation like that, but he managed to get it back out to the 20.
There's Dickey, big hole.